Hello, I've got for you today something special. This is an older pen. Don't worry, I promise that over the next few weeks I'll have the 2021 Writer's Edition. But in the meantime, this will have to do. This is the 2014 Heritage Collection. Limited edition 1914, so they made a thousand examples of this particular pen. It was inspired by one of their earliest pens, released appropriately in 1914. So in the box you've got this very interesting manual, pen specific all the way through, including the service guide. Details of the history of the pen, the origins of the name Montblanc. They're the original Simplo safety filler fountain pen that inspired this one. And what else? So the fittings of this pen are all platinum. The nib itself is gold, but is platinum coated. And that's a 1000 limited edition, and they've got a 333 limited edition in coral that's a bit bigger, actually quite a bit bigger. Very interesting, but I don't know, it's a bit too plain for that price, I think. And then once again, just standard service stuff, but all in a pen specific book. So the box, the presentation case is just a paper-covered presentation box. Not too flashy, but for a 4,300 euro pen, a bit underwhelming, I guess. So this pen case presentation box has a different type of flocking that doesn't deteriorate as much as the Patron of Arts one does. This is a much better choice on their part. And so, wonderful pen. I love the massive mother of pearl emblem. It's definitely the biggest that I've got in my collection, and definitely one of the biggest that they've got available in their pens. And at the other end, you've got a nice little, Montblanc emblem indented in platinum end for the cone filler. So it has interesting proportions. It's designed to resemble, I guess, any fountain pen, but the scale is quite different. So if we put that, this is a 149, a bit longer. And then we'll uncap them and I'll show you what makes this Heritage Collection more interesting. So the pen, or they did make a 1912 version of this in greater numbers. So this is limited edition. But I do think they make a far more accessible 1912 version. I've seen that one online, but I've never seen this 1914 online. Every now and then you see it pop up on Instagram. So the cap, unlike the 1912 and unlike the standard pens, isn't resin. It's metal with a lacquer finish. Very shiny, very nice. And obviously a bit more solid. It feels a bit more like a quality item than some of the other pens. So I've got here just a cling film wrapping on it in storage because the way the cap screws on, it goes all the way up to here. So as it travels all this distance, it's prone to scratching, and when you unscrew it, it does tend to leave evidence of the action along along the line of the bottom of the cap. So you do see that on most of their pens. Let's see, come on. Not cooperating. Too close. You do see it on the bottom here. It'll eventually accumulate scratches. On this type of pen, no big deal, but on a quite an expensive pen. It's something that I'd rather avoid. So when it's in storage, it's got a nice little cling film sheath protecting it. I did get this new, and it was apparently sealed when I got it from the store, but it wasn't covered in protective sheathing. So some of their other pens do have a protective sheeting on all the pretty parts and all the very shiny parts. This one didn't. So what makes this obviously interesting is that it's a hidden nib, right? So it's a retractable nib, and you activate it simply by unscrewing it, and then you've got once again a massive nib. So this is the 149 Calligraphy Edition. It has a pretty big nib by comparison to the other Montblanc pens, but yeah, here we've got something that's slightly bigger. I've not used it. I don't know, it doesn't feel like something that I would enjoy using because of the fiddling with it, unscrewing it and screwing it, and retracting it and extending it is it's not. It's nice to have, but it's not practical to use, I think. So the nib, like I mentioned, is gold, but it is platinum plated. It has a triangle heart hole, and it has a very distinct shape compared to some of the other Montblanc pens. So the shoulders, the shoulders are a bit more of a sharp angle, whereas some of the other pens have a bit more relaxed. Nope, a bit more of a relaxed angle at the shoulder. Yeah. So other than that, it's a pretty plain pen. It is once again a piston filler, and you do that by pulling out the cone at the back and then just treating it the way that you would any other piston filler. But there you go. And once again, the serial number is down there when you pull out the cone. There. So another thing to note is that obviously you don't want to be putting a cap on it when the nib is extended, and for that there's this little mechanism, or not mechanism, but there's a little stem at the bottom of the cone, bottom of the pen cap, that extends about a centimeter, and it catches on this particular flat surface here. And let's see, you can see that, let's see, where are we? There we go. That it has left a mark on this. So at one point it was extended maybe a bit too much when the cap was returned to the pen, and it did leave that mark there. So if you're getting this pen used, I definitely recommend checking that particular part. This is probably minor wear, but if you see quite a lot of impact here, you'll know that it's been used in a way that's a bit careless. And let's see if I can pick up that there. There's sort of that little on the bottom there. It's not going to pick up on the bottom anyway, but there's that stem on the bottom of the cap that you also should examine to see if it's been set off its center. So if it's been pushed to the side, or if it's no longer perfectly straight, it won't act the way that it should, and may not protect the pen. So I think that's probably one thing that I would suggest that anyone looking to get this pen used check out. So once again, because it is lacquer, it does tend to accumulate scratches a bit more than the resin pens, and I think they're a bit harder to polish. I think it's a bit harder to polish these pens than the resin pens that can be polished. But there you have it. A wonderful pen that I hadn't seen online. Every now and then you see it on Instagram, like I said, but I haven't seen anyone actually present it in video, so thought I'd share that with you guys just for the fun of it. There we go. Oh, and another thing that's interesting is that because the nib is retracted, of course it has no need for provision for the nib in the cap. So if they'd really wanted to, they could have made this even more interesting by making it just a little stub, almost like a bottle cap, just at the tip, rather than a full pen cap. That wouldn't have been loyal or wouldn't have been accurate considering the original version of the pen, but I think it's one of those things that, you know, they might consider if they want to play with the idea and the standard notions of how a pen looks and the ratios of the pen, the way they did with the Montezuma Patron of Art limited edition. So anyway, there you go. 1914 Goliath limited edition pen. Just because I had it around. Hope you enjoyed that. Let me know if you've got any questions.